like to talk to you about 5 reasons why I'm pretty confident you don't have the stones to hire an executive coach. It's pretty frightening to think that a lot of executives and a lot of CEOs actually don't believe that they need to hire someone to coach them. And what happens is that has a trickle-down effect, because how do you expect your middle-level managers and entry-level managers and entry-line staff to be coachable if you yourself are not open to it? There are plenty of benefits to being coached. So you definitely have to be open to the idea that you have something to learn. Reason number 1, you're arrogant. It's really hard to admit that you're not perfect. And there are times when a coach is going to challenge you just a little bit, just enough to make you slightly uncomfortable, and pull out those qualities and those weaknesses that you have that are areas for you to work on. The other thing is, your arrogance is comfortable. It allows you to protect yourself. You don't have to be open to feedback or criticism. And also, it keeps you from growing. Arrogance keeps you safe. The other problem with arrogance is that it tends to give the belief that you're born that way, or it's not me, it's you. A lot of times it's very difficult to reflect inward and realize that we have growing to do. The other reason is fear. Fear allows us to, again, kind of stay safe. Fear allows us to avoid the hard questions. It takes a lot of courage to ask for help, and it can be particularly difficult when you're in a leadership role. So sometimes the sign of the utmost inner power and leadership is to say, I'm willing to accept help, and I'm willing to admit that I need it. You've heard what they say about being stubborn, right? Hard head equals soft behind. Maybe it was just my grandmother who said that, but being stubborn can definitely keep you from a lot of learning opportunities. There's so much that you stand to learn if you're willing to, again, be open to those opportunities. So being stubborn doesn't necessarily serve you, does it? The other problem with being stubborn is that it allows you to be inflexible. Being inflexible does not lend well to being an adaptable person. And that's another key to being a successful leader, is being able to adapt in difficult situations. So being flexible and letting go of that hard-headedness can definitely open up some opportunities and some doors for you. The other reason is control. So there again, being in control of a situation so that you can avoid learning more about yourself and looking inward is what a lot of people prefer to do. People don't like to feel that they don't have a handle on the situation. So let's talk about control. I'm not talking like Janet Jackson type of control where, we're all dancing it out. I'm talking about the type of control that can actually keep you from moving up and actually sometimes make you fall down. I'll give you an example. My brother and I went waterfall rappelling, and all I had to do as I hung for dear life 3 stories high in the air on this rope was follow the instructions. And the instruction was to lean back as far as I could go. But it felt very uncomfortable, and I just didn't trust that I wasn't going to fall by doing it. And ultimately what happened was I fell. And I also got a really, really nice bruise, about, I would say, this big on my leg, just so that I had a reminder of why sometimes you have to give up your control. I had to follow the process and trust the process, and it just gives you another way of embracing change. And if I would have just embraced that change a little bit better on that waterfall, I probably would have embraced less slate wall. Just a thought. The last thing is exposure. I mean, the last thing anybody wants is to be found out. Nobody wants to reveal their innermost vulnerabilities, or even the fact that maybe we're not as strong as we appear sometimes. We all have weaknesses and we all have areas of improvement. But what often happens, especially at the executive level, is that people are not willing to admit that they don't know what they don't know. Exposure is a nice way of putting it, but if you want to really get real about it, it's basically ignorance. A lot of people don't understand what coaching is about. It's not about life coaching. It's about your own personal and professional development. Whether you're a business owner or a managerial professional, you definitely have so many benefits that you can gain from working with a coach. As a matter of fact, just for good measure, I'm going to list a couple of them right here. Okay,